Good evening. I'm Dan Eastgate, President of the Bismarck Public School Board. It's 5:15 on Monday, June 9th. I call this meeting to order. Welcome and thank you to everybody for joining us both here at the City Building, at the Tom Baker Room, or also online. You can find our agenda under the School Board tab at bismarckschools.org. Mr. Chair, will you call the roll, please?
Mr. Eastgate?
Here.
Mr. Hager?
Here.
Mr. Lee?
Here.
Mrs. Peterson?
Here.
Ms. Presky?
Here.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. All board members are present and accounted for. Dr. Fosnot, could you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 1C is the BPS mission, vision, and values. The BPS mission is to empower every learner to thrive. The BPS vision states together, our strong relationships build inclusive, collaborative, and innovative environments that create agency and inspire a passion for learning, excellence, and discovery. The BPS values are inclusion, excellence, innovation, and leadership. You can also find a link in the agenda to the BPS strategic plan. Item 2 is to adopt the agenda. What are the wishes of the board?
I'll move to adopt the agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Mr. Chair, can you call the roll, please?
Hager?
Yes.
Lee?
Yes.
Peterson?
Yes.
Presky?
Yes.
Eastgate?
Yes, motion passes. Item 3 is public comment. The board recognizes the central role that parents play in the education of their children, and we support active parent involvement in the educational process. The board's practice of public comment reflects and aligns with policy BCBA and the spirit of its intent. For classroom issues, it's always best to follow the chain of command, from the classroom teacher to the principal to the assistant superintendent and ultimately to the superintendent. For district-wide issues, please reach out to Dr. Fosnot's office. If you do speak tonight, we simply ask that you be responsible, be helpful, and be respectful. Our Bismarck Public School students deserve to have adults model the expectations that we have for them. Groups are urged to select one spokesperson. Individuals will be limited to no more than 4 minutes and will be notified with 30 seconds remaining to conclude their remarks. We do not debate issues as a board as they're presented, but we'll take such matters under advisement. With that, please stand and approach the podium if you'd like to speak tonight. Seeing nobody coming to the podium, public comment is now closed. Item 4 is to monitor district operations. Seeing tonight, item A, we did not have a monitoring report scheduled for the first June meeting, but we do have a reading for item 4B, BSR5, Superintendent Accountability. I'll have a public reading and the board can determine where the board is at. Here is BSR5, Superintendent Accountability. The board considers superintendent performance to be identical to district performance. District accomplishment of the board's results policies and district operation according to the values expressed in the board's operational expectations policies will be considered successful superintendent performance. These two components define the superintendent's job responsibilities and are the basis of the superintendent's performance evaluation. Number 1, the board will determine organizational performance based upon its defined systematic monitoring process as outlined in its annual work plan. Number 2, the board will require monitoring data on results and operational expectations policies by one or more of 3 methods. A, by internal report, in which the superintendent submits information that certifies and documents to the board compliance or reasonable progress. Letter B, by external review, in which an external third party selected by the board assesses compliance or reasonable progress with applicable board policies. And letter C, by board inspection, in which the whole board or a committee duly charged by the board formally assesses a compliance or reasonable progress based upon specific policy criteria. Number 3, the consistent performance standard for operational expectations policies shall be whether the superintendent has A, reasonably interpreted the policy, and B, complied with the provisions of the board policy. Number 4, the consistent performance standard for results policies shall be whether the superintendent has A, reasonably interpreted the policy, and B, made reasonable progress toward achieving the outcomes defined by the board's results policies. Number 5, the board will make the final determination as to whether the superintendent's interpretation is reasonable, whether the superintendent has complied, and whether reasonable progress has been made. In doing so, the board will apply the reasonable person standard. Number 6, all policies that instruct the superintendent will be monitored according to a schedule and by a method determined by the board and included in the board's annual work plan. The board may monitor any policy out of this defined sequence If it is determined by a majority of the board that conditions warrant monitoring at times other than those specified by the annual schedule. Number 7, each November, the board will conduct a formal summative evaluation of the superintendent. The summative evaluation will be based upon data collected and decisions made by the board during the year related to the monitoring of results and operational expectations policies. The board will prepare a written evaluation document consisting of A, a summary of the data derived during the year from monitoring the board's results and operational expectations policies. B, conclusions based upon the board's prior action during the year relative to the superintendent's reasonable interpretation of each results policy and whether reasonable progress has been made towards achievement. And letter C, conclusions based upon the board's prior action during the year relative to whether the superintendent has reasonably interpreted and operated according to the provisions of the operational expectations policies. And ends the public reading of BSR 5. Board members, any discussion or any motions?
I would move that we retain BSR 5 superintendent accountability.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Scher.
Lee,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Prusky,
Yes.
Hager,
Yes.
Eastgate,
Yes, motion passes. And for BSR 5, does the board determine in compliance with exception, or out of compliance? Mr. Hager.
I'd move to find us in compliance.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Mr. Scher, the roll.
Peterson,
Yes.
Prusky,
Yes.
Hager,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Eastgate.
Yes, motion passes. Thank you, board members. Item 5 on the agenda, matters reserved for board action. We just have 5A, board member school visit updates, which I do believe we have a few to report. And Ms. Presky, I'll start with you.
Okay, well, yeah, on the last day of school, I went to Jeanette Myrie and met with Dr. Kimberly Herman, and also had just kind of a fun atmosphere to be at in the school with the last day. We talked about a number of things, got a look of the school tour, lots of smiling faces around the building, anxious for summer break. A couple of things that stuck out to me that I'm just going to focus on this report is just, number one, that she emphasized that the kids really need love, consistency, and structure. And, that theme really kind of wove into our whole conversation, just about the needs of the students in this school. One of the things that she pointed out is that she feels that the class sizes at Jeanette Myrie are too large, basically because of the great needs that they have at Jeanette Myrie. And this came out to me in various other school visits, but you can't really have a set number of students per grade level, and that should be the standard, or that should be what we base the class sizes on. It should be, do those classrooms have greater needs, and then really adapt that classroom size based on those needs that classroom or that school has. Basically, you can't compare the class sizes with other schools. You can't compare Jeanette Myrie with maybe one of the other schools in town, because the school might have some different needs and greater needs. That wove into really some discussions about behavioral issues that the school sees. Again, another topic that we talk about a lot in our school visits, and that we as a board have recognized. She is very supportive of us expanding the Renew Ed expansion into elementary students, and just really recognized that many of these students need a different atmosphere in order to learn. However, some good news in all this is that, according to her behavioral data, their behavioral issues have decreased by half from what they were last year. So really, a good point to highlight there. As far as their greatest challenges, most of them are behavioral related. I feel that the school needs enhanced behavioral supports, the smaller class sizes, and also just talked about the building setup as a whole, that the parking and the entrance to the building is a challenge. And, you know, overall, this really stuck out to me too, that the location of that school, South 12th and Expressway, has really influenced the image of the school. And she has a strong desire to really work on changing the narrative that surrounds Jeanette Myrie. Speaking of narrative, first thing I did when I walked in the class or into the school was spin the wheel, which you all have talked about and I had yet to do. So, yeah, drum roll. I'm on Team Ohana, and which means family. So, yep, green T-shirt, and I forgot to bring it. Sorry about that. But yep, Team Ohana. So, who else is on that team? Okay, good. Yeah. So that's what I got for tonight.
Thanks very much, Ms. Presky. Welcome to Team Ohana, Powerhouse. Appreciate that. I have just a quick school visit update, and it's actually not a school, but every few years we also get to go tour central administration, which this year, serving as the president, getting to be at Dr. Fosnot's office quite often, which is at the central administration office. So it's like getting called to the principal's office every couple of weeks. But don't get a chance to always go around the rest of the building. So it was fun to be able to see, especially since we purchased the building. I had toured it a few times, but to get to see the spaces now in some of their more final, refined ways. So we headed upstairs, and I got a couple different tour leaders, Miss Amanda Meyer and Miss Danica Nelson. Sure appreciate both of them. Dr. Fosnot followed along, made sure that I was getting where I was supposed to go. But they did have an exec team meeting going on as well, so some of the folks were out of their offices, so I didn't get to bother as many of them as I would have liked, but I did get a chance to steal from the candy jars at some of the desks. So upstairs is a conference room. Our Avid team is up there. Dr. Johnson's free little library shelf, which I don't know if that's advertised, but I heard about it, Dr. Johnson. A lot of academic books there, some really deep reading. So check that out. You didn't think I knew about that, did you, Dr. Johnson? I hear you laughing.
I was giving or taking?
I heard they were free to give. I thought you were being, generous spirit. I did not take any yet, but I'll be back now that I know it's there. You got to leave one to take one. LDI supports, Indian Education Office. We have a lot of great things that happen across our whole district, and they're housed there at Central Administration. And that's where they collaborate with the others that are the heads of the different departments. And they talked about that, some of the great collaboration spaces used by all kinds of the groups. So they might have, for instance, if, I know we get in the secondary principals probably come in there and meet every so often. And so we have these really great collaboration spaces where we're able to get a lot of people together throughout the building. LDI staff, like I said, Amanda Meyer walked me through all the space, and I had a chance to visit with many different people. We talked a little bit, it can get a little bit confusing for some people, but we working on K through 8 virtual academies, which is really helping service homeschool students that are also BPS students through that. So it's a good thing in that way. As I talked to Ms. Meyer and Dr. Fosnot about it there in the hallway that day, I'm always about in-person teaching, try to push that way. But we know we have some students that are opting out of going to a school building all the time, and this is a way for BPS to still help give what I think is still the best education that we can give through BPS. So it creates a framework for helping get those students. A lot of them may come into BPS's high school, so it just helps create that. Danica Nelson also gave a tour. So we checked out student services, so our English language learning department, students in transition. It was really neat to see the spaces they have. Some of the, again, a different collaboration area down there where they're able to have people come through and check it out, students and families that might be new to our district, to get an idea of what we have going on. I stopped by Shanna Scott's office. Hi, Shanna. You weren't there that day. Sorry I missed you. Lisa Simmons, the EL coordinator. Andrea Seibel's office. Just had a chance again to visit with some of those folks. So also at the CAB is our activities department, which houses Mr. Dave Zittelman's office there, along with his team, Carrie Wellstead, Kylie Johnson, Nicole Fitzgerald, and the great work they do. And if you know BPS, we just had state track a couple weeks ago. Great job, BPS. They do a ton. They host a ton of different events here in town. And really, Mr. Zittelman does a great job, but he has that great team there, Carrie, Kylie, and Nicole, that help make a lot of it happen. We host WDA for a number of different things. We have a number of state tournaments. So a lot of great things coming in and out of the CAB office. Of course, Mr. Scher's office is up there as well, the business and operations manager. And you have a chance to see Jenny and Amber up there at the desk, friendly faces that can kind of greet you and direct traffic. So BPS Foundation is up there. Our communications, Mr. Stephen Kuntz is up there, and many others. I won't be able to say all the names, but we really have a ton of really talented people that are there and helping make BPS a great job. And a lot of the people were out in the schools. I should mention that. A lot of the folks that weren't at the exec meeting were out in the school serving wherever they needed to be at that day, elementary and everything. So to Mr. Barnhart, Dr. Johnson, thanks for what you guys do there. I know you don't always have a school to claim as your own because as well, you're out in schools all the time and working with our leaders. So appreciate everybody at the BPS CAB. Thanks a lot, Dr. Fosnot, and Mr. Scher, the principal of the CAB. And with that, we'll continue moving on to item 6, which is the consent agenda. What are the wishes of the board?
I'd move that we adopt the consent agenda.
Second.
You have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Scher.
Prusky,
Yes.
Hager,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Eastgate.
Yes. Motion passes. Item 7 is the superintendent's report. Dr. Fosnot.
Good afternoon, board members. Nice to see all of you. Don't have much for myself this month or this meeting. Maybe wait till next month, but I do want to kick this over to Mr. Scher and major projects. So,
Thank you, Dr. Fosnot, President Eastgate, members of the board. In front of you, we have our major project. Right, currently, we have one project happening, and that's the CT Center. So what I can tell you is sheetrock is happening and concrete is being finalized. And the exterior wall panels of that north part, which is just shelled, is happening. The other big thing that I'm kind of excited to ask is, or not ask, to report on is we have an ask to a major sponsor that looks very promising. So we do have one thing left on phase 1 that would be nice to get in, and that's the structural steel mezzanines to tie those in to phase 1. So if we're able to secure that funding, we'll be bringing that for the board's consideration to do those as part of phase 1. And also tied to that is we'll be kicking off a major campaign, got a kind of a change of plan on how to raise some money. So my hope is that we do that this summer, followed up with a lot of phone calls from Dr. Fosnot and myself to say, hey, did you see our email? Did you watch the video? And now let's try to get part of this gap closed to get this thing finished. So that's all I really have. Included the financials for you also, and would answer any questions the board would have related to our single major project.
Board members, any questions for Mr. Scher tonight? Dr. Fosnot.
I would add, just comment of what Mr. Scher is saying. We knew we have that financial gap to close yet. I will say the nice thing is having a structure somewhere you can take people, see the space, show these organizations, businesses, partners in our community, like, this is what you're buying into, this is why you're supporting kids, this may be even how you support your own company, has been valuable, where they see the space. So again, the work that Mr. Scher and our foundation, going out, talking to these people, bringing them into that facility, I think is helping. So thank you for your support on this.
Thank you. Mr. Scher, thanks for that report. Appreciate it. Board members, if there aren't any other questions for the superintendent's report, all items have been considered. I declare this meeting adjourned.